up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. You already know what it is. It's Ron, time for Wrench-a-holics, and today we are back in the lab working on the 240 yet again. I'm sorry for the lack of updates, the lack of uploads. Life happens and I just don't have time to do it. So today we are actually going to be tackling a problem that I had on my car a while ago. I think my car's been down for like a month. We're going to be doing my rear brakes. I think it was the driver rear. I had a leaky caliper, so I had brake fluid everywhere, and I just lost the motivation to fix it, but we are back. I finally got everything I need to fix it, so let's get to it. I don't know if I'm going to make it like a how-to, you know, I mean, there's only one more part that you have to do, which is release the e-brake, but if it ends up that way, it ends up that way. If not, I'm just going to be filming myself working on the car, but who knows what is going to happen. I'm just going to take footage and see what's up, so we've got a lot to do. Let's get to it. Alright, so the first thing I did was remove everything I need in order to get access to my rear brake caliper. As you can see right here, there's a rip in the boot. If you can't see it, don't worry about it. It's leaking, as you can, because I know. But anyways, so we're gonna go ahead and remove this one first off of the car, and then we're gonna go and work on putting everything back. I do have the rear villains hydro e-brake, which is completely separate. Because I have the reservoir type master cylinder, so it's not an inline. This is its own setup, so I don't have to worry about anything with the rear villains kit. It's just primarily this guy. So first, take everything off. This is the bracket, so you gotta take that guy off, and then once you take that off, you'll be able to slide off the rotor and then go from there. Let's see. I believe the bolts for the bracket are 17s. Yeah, so they're 17, so 17 wrench, and 14 would be to remove the caliper from the actual bracket itself. So this is the little sliding pin for the brakes. So 14 and 17, and it'd be okay. From there, we're gonna put everything in back, like reverse order, so be good to go. So my main plan is to replace the rear caliper. We will keep the soft line because the soft line is still good. Basically, we just don't want to leak, obviously. So I have everything removed. If you have the rear villains kit, obviously just go through directions on how to remove the rotor, because it's a funky way of how to put it on based on how villains has it set up. But if you don't have it, just take everything off as if you're doing a brake job. The new, or reman I should say, caliper came with a new bracket, so we're going to use everything brand new. The only thing is we're going to keep the soft line because it's still good. So the first thing you got to do obviously is take everything apart. This is the soft line right here, and basically take the nut off, the banjo bolt I should say, and then reinstall into your new brake caliper. This is kind of funky. This is the actual e-brake mechanism. You'll have a line coming through here, and then you'll have like this little, I can show you it. So this little connector piece right here fits into the groove like that. In order to remove that, basically just go ahead and slightly compress the actual e-brake mechanism so that you can release tension on the line, and then you'll be able to slip it out from here. And then once you have everything out, then this will be free, minus the brake line. So we're going to go ahead and remove that and put everything back together. I'm going to try not to make it leak. You're going to still have to bleed the system. As with any time you do your brakes, bleed the system. It's very important. If you don't, you'll have spongy brakes or brakes that don't work. So I bleed the system regardless of what you're doing. So I'm going to do that off camera, and then I'll show you what it looks like, probably on and off. It's just hard to film while I do this, so let me get to it. Clean it up. I had a leak, so I'm going to pretty much just wipe down as much brake fluid as I can off of some of these parts. So basically, as with any brake job, brake cleaner is going to be your friend, because you also need to clean the rotor because it has like a oily residue on the top to protect it from rusting. So first we're going to go ahead and try to clean up my rear knuckle here, only because it's soaking up all that brake fluid. And then we're going to go ahead and move over to cleaning the rotor. Again, from the manufacturer, wherever you get your rotors from, they're going to spray a oily covering on it just to protect it. So while it sits on the shelf waiting for somebody to buy it, it doesn't rust up. So, alright, cool. So that's cool. These are your rotors. I have a 5-lug. I converted my 240 to 5-lug, so I'm using an S14 rear rotor, OEM non-ABS. It'll fit. So if you guys are wondering, and you guys are 4-luggers and you're trying to go to 5-lug, if you go 5-lug, all you need is just a conversion 5-lug hub. So you can do, you know, any eBay will have it. I don't recommend it, but they do have it, to a 5-lug. And then what you'll do is you'll just replace your 4-lug rotor with the OEM S14 rotor, and everything will work together. You can still use your OEM rear caliper and everything like that. So the only thing you need to swap out is the 4 to 5-lug hub and a new rotor from an S14. So you can't really see on camera, but I mean it's oily. They always come like that. So brake clean on the surface, and then you want to wipe it down. You probably can't see it, but you get the point. So just shoot some brake clean on there and wipe it down. Both surfaces. The main thing is the area where the brake pad is going to be contacting, only because you don't want your brake pad to have any type of grease, because then that's how you ruin them. So clean that there. Clean that there. Alright, so this one you don't have to worry about what I'm doing here when I put this rotor on. This is because I have the rear dual caliper from Villains. So this section here you don't need to worry about. Okay, so like I said, this part is going to be, you don't have to worry about it if you don't have it. But just a funky way of doing it. This way it's going to slap on. Let me get that on there like that. Okay. Alright, cool. So what I just did is only because I have the Villains rear caliper. If you don't have it, you just slide it on and you'll be a-okay. That's just the next step, just because I got it. If you haven't seen that install video, I do have a 3-part series. Go check it out. It's me installing the dual rear caliper from Villains with the bracket and all associated parts. Also a hydro with their mount, chassis mount. So I did do that. So if you are interested in that and want to do it, go ahead and watch that. Helpful information. Alright. So, back to the regular scheduled program. Once you get everything down there, now that you got your rotor back onto your hub, you're gonna put the new bracket, which is here. The new calipers that I got came with new hardware as well as a new bracket. So we're gonna go ahead and use it. First things first, you gotta remove it from the bracket. So you remove these two right here. These are for the guide pins, the sliding pins. So those come off. Okay. Now here you go. This is your new bracket versus your old bracket. So you can tell, used and abused, brand new. Alright, since these are remans, it's a good thing to make sure that the threadings on the actual bracket are cleaned up, because they do coat it, I think, with zinc is what they said. So I just made sure that when I installed the mounting bolts, or the bracket bolts I should say, that it goes down smoothly, so that you don't have that issue of you trying to strip out the actual inner threading from the bracket or actually stripping out your bolt which would push you back even more because then now you have to find replacements for it. So quickly did that, everything is cool, so we're gonna go ahead and redo it back again. Perfect. All right. Alright, so once you have those snug, as if you're doing a regular brake service, I don't trust them, but these little sliding pins right here, you want to make sure you grease them up so that they don't get seized up in the bracket. I've seen it happen before. So we're going to go ahead and get some grease, put some grease on it, and then slap on the new brake caliper. So let me go get some grease real quick and be right back. Alright, so the sliding pins, they have like this little rubber portion right here that contains the grease. So if you just hold that and pull out the sliding pin, you'll see it. They came, oh wow, they came pre-greased, but it won't hurt to put hella more grease on there. So just dump some grease on there, should be good to go. Okay. Sweet. There you go. Alright. Alright, cool. I'm going to try to show you guys with the old caliper bracket. Just if you guys never done it before. They're pretty much, there's a little lip right here on the sliding pin right here. Like, when you have everything, you want to make sure that the insulator, the rubber insulator, goes over that lip. Only because that lip is what contains or what allows this rubber boot to stay on, so that your grease doesn't come out. So again, grease it up, make sure it hits over the lip, and you're good to go. A couple in and out motions of that, make sure everything's good to go, free moving, and halfway there. So I'm reusing my old brake hardware because they're still okay. If you really want to go the whole 9, you can get brand new brake hardware. But honestly, as long as the hardware is not bent, out of shape, they will still do the job. So that's on you. I've been doing this way. I just reuse my old hardware because it's still okay. But if you want to change it, you can. I'm not stopping you, but I don't need to. So before you put on your brake pads, you want to make sure you get obviously the right orientation. So I believe they're on the top. Yeah. Alright. So the brake indicator, I normally like it on top here, so I'll be putting it in like that. And then obviously you also have your front pad. At the box, you want to give it a good rub down like this, just to get the surfaces ready to go. I know it's going to create some dust, but boom. Alright, so basically you just install them right here and you're good. Oh yeah, one more thing. You can put some grease on the actual brake hardware and also on the surfaces that meet the I don't even know what it's called, but basically the brake pad is going to be held within these hardwares. You can put some grease on it. A lot of people say that it reduces like brake squeal or vibrations or whatever. I mean, I can't really tell. I've been doing this the same way for a long time, so I just keep doing it the way I was taught. And yeah, so boom. Come on there, buddy. The main thing you want to do when you're reinstalling your brakes is, if you're messing with grease like I am, you want to make sure that you don't get any grease from where the brake pad contacts the rotor. So basically on this surface right here, because that's what's going to ruin your brake pad. I always have a hard time with the ones in the back. It's hard to see. Alright, so before we put it on, as with the bracket, I want to make sure that this threading right here for the banjo bolt is not, messed up. So what you're going to do is you can just basically get your brand new banjo bolt, go down and make sure that the threadings don't get caught up or anything like that. And then you should be good to go. So again, like I said, once they're reman, you just want to make sure that they're good. So I always double check to make sure the threading is okay. Worst thing you want to do is install everything and it starts to leak, So alright, well, I mean, it's pretty smooth, finger tight. Well, not even finger tight, I'm just using my fingers and I'm going all the way down to the till I bottom out on the banjo bolt, and the threads are not binding and it's not hard, so that's a good sign. So what we're going to do now is I reinstalled the old caliper onto the new bracket. Only reason why is because I got to break the bolt that holds the brake line, the banjo bolt. So once I break that, I'll take everything off and then put the brand new caliper in its place. Again, you need to bleed your brakes. I can't stress it enough. Whenever you do a brake job and you mess with the brake lines, you gotta bleed it regardless. So there is no ands, ifs, or buts about it. It's for safety reasons, so bleed your brakes. So yeah, I'm gonna go do that right now and then show you the final when everything's all put together. So before we put everything back together, make sure you reinstall your handbrake cable. So again, a little bit of compression right here will do a lot of good when you try to slip in the e-brake cable from here and then try to put in that little cylinder piece to fit in here, so that everything works. So compress a little bit, slide everything through, and you'll be able to get it done the way how you did it in reverse order. One more key thing is that before you put your brand new your caliper back on, you want to compress the piston. And to compress the piston, all you gotta do is get some needle nose pliers, like so. And then you see this little grooves right here. It looks like a plus sign. I'm trying to get in the camera. You want to basically just put your needle nose like that in it and rotate, basically until it's fully compressed into its spot. If it's sticking out, you're not going to be able to get it over your brake pads, because the thickness of the pad is not compensated for when you had removed it, if you were doing it like a brake job. But pretty much, yeah, key tip, some needle nose pliers, rotate the piston, and you'll be good to go. So first we're going to go ahead and put the e-brake cable cable back on, and then swap everything on. So now that I have everything back on in pretty much in its spot, I tightened down the dual wheel caliper from Villains. I tightened down the bracket. I tightened down the new caliper to the bracket. I'm gonna go ahead and break the line. I've already done it, but I retightened it so it doesn't leak, and then transfer the line from the old caliper to the brand new one. A key point is that you're going to use new hardware. You have to use new hardware. This is something that that you don't want to have to redo because of a leak. So pretty much what it is, it's going to be a banjo bolt right here, and you're going to have 2 crush washers. What you need to do is you want to have one already installed on top of the banjo bolt like so. This one is going to be on the actual caliper. Then basically what you're going to do is you're going to sandwich the brake line in between these 2 washers. What makes it not leak is these crush washers. So the amount of force when you install the banjo bolt and then you crush the crush washer, that makes the seal so that it doesn't leak out from the hard line, from the soft line, I'm sorry. So yeah, this is the part where you're going to probably have a headache by trying to figure out why you have a leak. If anything, this is where you're going to run into your problem. So, alright, so this is the finished product. I got brand new rear caliper, bracket. I reused my old hard line, soft line. It was still good, so I'm not too worried about it. And I also had to reinstall the e-brake cable just before you put it on. I tried to actually reinstall the brake line with the caliper being on, but it was hard to get this bolt matched up with threading, and I didn't want to strip it out, so I just took it off, rested it on here, and then reinstalled, doing it that way, and it was a lot easier. Work hard, smarter not harder, guys. Smarter not harder. But yeah, so all you gotta do now is just wrap it up, put the wheel back on, we're good to go. I'm actually going to be doing the other side, but I'm not going to be doing it on camera. Once you do one side, the other side is going to be self-explanatory. Just take your time. If it's your first time doing it, work slow. Again, don't forget to compress the piston before you even try to reinstall it, because it's not going to work if the piston is poking out. So go ahead and put some needle nose in there and twist it to the right to compress it down into the housing right here, into where the piston rests, and you should be good to go. So again, the reason why we did it was because there's a hole right there, if you can see it. It's right there where my finger's at. Busted the rubber bushing right here, which holds the the rubber seal, I should say, which holds the fluid into the rear caliper, and I was just leaking all over the place. So we're done. Again, bleed your brakes. That's the one thing and the most important thing, aside from not having anything leaking. Bleed your brakes before you even drive your car. So there you go. On to the next.
Alright guys, so that is it. I did the other side off camera, so pretty much if you do one side, you know how to do the other side. Just remember that when you do finally take them off, so this is my old one, when you finally crack the brake line, always is important that you got to bleed the brakes for them to properly work. I think in the manual, you got to bleed the caliper furthest away from the master cylinder, and then you work your way closer to it. So I believe it's the rear passenger, rear driver, and then you got the front passenger and then driver. Don't quote me on that. I'm actually going to go read the manual to make sure I do it correctly, but you can always look in the descriptions for the proper way on which caliper to bleed first, and so on and so forth. But technically, or for the most part, it's the caliper furthest away from the master cylinder is what I've been told. But I will look it up for you, and I'll put it in the descriptions. Don't worry, just read it. But yeah, so we went ahead and changed everything to the new Reman ones. We changed pretty much all the hardware except for the brake. I don't even know what they're called, but they're like these brake plates that go onto the actual caliper bracket. I didn't replace those. For some reason I never do. As long as it's not broken, these will work. But yeah, so we went ahead and did everything. We changed everything. The only thing that we gotta do now is bleed the brakes. I'm not gonna do that on camera just because it's gonna be monotonous and repetitive. Dude, if you have speed bleeders, it's I believe it could be a one-person job if you have speed bleeders. I've never had them, so if any of you do have them, leave a comment below, because I don't know. I would like to get speed bleeders if they actually are a help to me, since I normally work on the car by myself. But the traditional style bleed valve will get the job done. You just need 2 people because you won't be able to do it by yourself. So we're gonna go ahead and bleed those, and then hopefully get some footage of the car back on the street. It's been a while since I've been driving it just because of that one problem. But yeah, I'm super excited to finally have it done, finally have the car back on the street. And as always, rep the store, sappyones.bigcartel.com. I finally came out with my key rings. Be on the lookout, I should say, for the video. I'm pretty much just going to show you the final piece that I decided to make for these key rings. I know I used to sell the junkyard ones and the ones that you can find at the wreckers, but honestly, I decided to go away with that just because these parts are like 20-plus-year-old plastic pieces that are brittle. So I went ahead and made my own. They're going to be in the store. I think it's live right now by the time you guys are watching this video. But yeah, it's savageones.bigcartel.com. Link in the description. Support the store, support me. All the proceeds go back into the channel, back into the build. And as always, if you guys been watching, hype is for the moment and style is forever. Deuces.